This little box that people either love to hate, or hate to love has now been out for more than a year. So let's talk about it. Let's look at some of my favorite things, some things I find really stupid, some controversies, and some of my hopes for the future. So what are some of my favorite things with the TX-6? Well, for the past year, this has actually been one of the devices that I've used more than any other device. And the reasons go beyond just wanting value for money. This is just a very versatile device. I've found the TX-6 to work really great for DAW-less setups, especially together with Teenage Engineering devices. But I've also used it with the Digitone and the SP404 Mark II. And it plays, with one very annoying exception that I'll talk about later, very well with other devices. It's been great having a handy mixer with effects, speed tracking, and MIDI clock as kind of a master device for other hardware. And I think this is a usage area where this device really shines. Next, I've been using this a lot as a MIDI device and audio interface on the go. And it's been really valuable for me to have something that can cover so many functions in such a small packaging. I travel a lot, and being able to pack something this compact that can act as a mixer, a synth, although a really bad synth, an audio interface has really helped me to keep my bags light and has made my travels a lot easier. And it's so easy to just whip up my computer at a coffee shop or at the airport, connect the TX-6, and have a little workstation covering most of my needs just right there and then. The beat tracking has also been a great addition to this device, and now you can also add non-MIDI compatible devices to a DAW-less setup, which is really cool. And also the recording capabilities that they added for the TX-6 is also a huge upgrade. However, you have to be careful and get a good quality USB-C drive, or else the TX-6 will all of a sudden just stop recording without any notification for you, and you have to re-record or lose whatever you were doing. Okay, so what are some of the things I find really stupid with this device? There are a couple of drawbacks. One of them is the synth. It could be great, but it's way too limited. I've demonstrated in an earlier video how you can control all the synths in the TX-6 using your DAW, but unless you connect it to a DAW or a MIDI sequencer, you're realistically not gonna get a lot of use out of the synths. The drum engines are fine, and you can do a lot rhythmically with the various sequencer patterns, but the pitch synth engines are way too limited in my opinion. If Teenage Engineering would include envelope control, now you only can select note length, and also allowed for programming pitch sequences instead of the current sequences that only repeats the active note, the synth would be a way more useful feature. I would love to see something like the OP1's finger sequencer, so that you can program different pitches for each step, and I can't imagine that it would be too hard to implement either. Hopefully they will do a full overhaul of the synth engines in an upcoming firmware updates, but I have to admit that I do have my doubts. Another thing I hate is how little it takes to get overcurrent so that the entire device crashes and shuts down. If you want to MIDI sync the TX-6 with other devices via USB-C, you're basically limited to only one other device. Anything more than that will cause overcurrent and cause the TX-6 to crash. If you try to use a dongle or in other ways connect more devices to the USB-C, you will get the overcurrent error message and everything will fail, which is a huge bummer. So I think this is probably a hardware issue that a firmware update wouldn't fix, but maybe I'm wrong and I really hope I am. The next feature I think needs some improvement is the effects. The effects in themselves are actually pretty good, and I especially like the one in the Effect Bank 1, but only being able to choose one effect at a time from each bank is a really big limitation. Ideally, I would love to see the ability to do effect chaining so that you can chain several effects together, so that you could, for example, have delay, chorus, and reverb going on at the same time. Or even being able to do reverb on one track and delay on the other would be a huge improvement. But as it is at the moment, you can only apply one effect from Effect Bank 1 to one or several tracks at the same time, and one effect from Effect Bank 2 to one or all of the tracks. And that's a pity, because I really do believe that having more control over the effects for each track could really 10x the perceived value of the TX-6. Now, what are some of the controversies about this little mixer? The most obvious one is, of course, the price. At $1,200, we have a pretty steep price for such a tiny device. And we've come to expect that from Teenage Engineering, so it's not really that much to say about it, other than that they price their devices like a design company rather than a synth company. And it doesn't stop people from buying from them, so I guess that's good for them. Another big controversy is its size. So many people comment on my videos about how this is too small for an average hand, which is true. However, I don't find myself having a huge issue with this. I don't use it in a way where I continuously adjust the knobs and sliders. I use it in a way where I just make my adjustments and then I set them and forget them when I'm happy with them. But I can see cases where people would have real issues with it, so if you think that's you, then it's probably better for you to stay clear. So, what are some of my hopes for the future? There's been more than 6 months since the last firmware update, so I'm really hoping that this device isn't being neglected in the rapidly increasing Teenage Engineering lineup. They've recently released a field microphone and also for some reason a field tape recorder, which actually looks really cool, and I do think I really want it. So I hope that in spite of all these new products, that the TX-6 will still receive some love from the developers. I would love to see an improved synth, effects chaining, improved BLE compatibility, improved overcurrent stability, the ability to record effects through the USB instead of just a dry signal, Bluetooth compatibility with the OPZ, and I also wouldn't mind a few surprises. Just keep those firmware updates coming, please. Don't forget about us. So these are just a few of my thoughts surrounding the 1-year anniversary of the TX-6. So as you can see, I have some love and some hate, and no device is perfect. But I would also love to hear your thoughts in the comment section, good or bad. Also, I would like to know what you think of their new products. But all in all, I think this is a really good device, and I especially love how you can replace your audio interface, your mixers, your synths, and your expression controllers when you connect this to your DAW, and I show you exactly how you can do this in this video right here.